This is my fifth speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do. These people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer. 5 times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
Well, there you have it. Last night, a record-setting address to a joint session of Congress. President Donald John Trump has given up on trying to make Democrats happy, and I think that's a good move. It is the Chris Plant Show. Sans Chris Plant. Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend Chris. He is in sickbay today. Get well, buddy. I'm pulling emergency duty this morning, so forgive me. Forgive me if I make mistakes here and there. It was a very short night for many of us in the talk radio world. I anticipated a speech of about 45 minutes to an hour. It went to almost 100 minutes. It was within seconds of being a 100-minute speech. It was, as they say in the political classes, a stem winder. An absolute stem winder. You know how this works. We are going to have some fun today. We are going to go through the president's speech, and you, the fabulous Chris Plant audience, will share your favorite moments. And are there things you disagreed with last night that you saw? And I'm not talking about the Democrats and their foolish actions, because there certainly were enough of them to fill an entire show. Let's face it, we could do the whole show just mocking the Democrats. And the mocking began before the speech started. The mocking actually began before the speech started. I kid you not. The events that happened outside of the address last night were many. And it all started with Cory Booker, Senator Cory Booker, Spartacus, if you will. He decided he was going to put out a video talking badly about the president. And he put out a little video. It's about 1.5 minutes long. And he was sitting in an office, in his taxpayer-funded office in the Senate building. And he had a little microphone in his hand and set up a camera, and he started speechifying and said, well, you know, Donald Trump on the first day said something, and he called it shizzle. I'm using the street language for it. He called it shizzle, and then I don't know what happened, but Cory Booker decided it would be a really good idea if he took his speech and handed the same speech to Elizabeth Warren, to Chuck Schumer, to at least 20 other Democrats. And so they all did the exact same speech because they're penguins. They just follow each other around. In case you missed it, this is what it sounded like. The exact same speech denigrating the president.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one of Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down. They're up. Inflation is getting worse. Not better. The prices of grocery, gas, housing, eggs, of essentials. It's not getting better. It's getting worse.
It's mind-numbingly stupid to do something like this. To do it once? Yeah, silly. To do it twice? What do you do? 3 times? But more than 20 times. More than 23 different members of the Democrat Party did the exact same video. They're plagiarizing themselves and their own stupid ideas. But the idiocy before last night's speech didn't end there. No, it didn't end there. Outside of the Capitol, you had a Democratic representative from California, of course, Sidney Kamlager Dove. Never heard of Sidney Kamlager Dove. She's a Democrat from California. And she accidentally spoke the truth. This was amazing. Accidentally spoke the truth. Catch this.
You don't care about this country, and that is unacceptable if you claim to be the president of the United States. So we are here. We are not going anywhere. We are going to continue to fight back, and we are going to continue to speak lies to.
Oh, it just locked up on me, but at the critical point too. I'm sorry, Representative, continue.
Of the United States. So we are here. We are not going anywhere. We are going to continue to fight back, and we are going to continue to speak lies to.
To
his stealing and to his cheating.
We're going to continue to speak lies to his truth. We're going to continue.
So we are here. We are not going anywhere. We are going to continue to fight back, and we are going to continue to speak lies to
his truth, is what she's saying. I don't know, for whatever reason, this computer clip, which is probably getting used by everybody on the planet, we are going to continue to speak truth, to speak lies to his truth, even in their attempts to knock out President Trump. They swing and miss. Did you have a favorite moment last night? I would love to hear from you. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. It is the Chris Plante Show, of course. Chris out today. I have a mountain of clips that I want to get through. An absolute mountain of clips. And because I'm a glutton for punishment, I'm going to take one more shot at letting Representative from California.
You don't care about this country, and that is unacceptable if you claim to be the president of the United States. So we are here. We are not going anywhere. We are going to continue to fight back, and we are going to continue to speak lies to his truth.
There it is. We're going to continue to speak lies to his truth. What a bunch of sad maroons they are. There were some sad moments last night in the speech. There were some very poignant moments last night. There were some infuriating moments last night. There was the moment that Representative Al Green stood and shook his cane at the president as if it were 1870 in the House of Representatives and someone was about to challenge someone else to a duel. It certainly felt that way. There were some horrifically embarrassing moments for Democrats last night. Some moments that they should literally be ashamed of themselves for what they did and did not do. For what they did do, by Al Green interrupting the president and refusing to sit down, refusing the speaker's request to return order. And the speaker finally had to have Al Green escorted out by the sergeant at arms. And I believe Secret Service actually went up and took him out, too. I believe a couple of Secret Service agents went up there. And when he stood up, Nancy Mace of South Carolina, she's a little bit sassy. Nancy Mace of South Carolina shouted, "Sit your derriere down." She didn't say derriere, but she instructed him to sit his butt down. And when he would not, and when the speaker tried not once, not twice, but 3 times to get Al Green to sit down, and he refused, he was escorted out of the building, and then he decided that he was going to make sure he stopped and spoke to the press, which, you know, that's what you do when you create a disturbance like that. You go and you speak to the press because you're going to fundraise off this. You certainly have a video that you will use in the very near future to fundraise off of, and I'm sure that's going to happen. In case you missed it, because it didn't garner too much attention, Al Green, after he was booted out, spoke to reporters after getting kicked out, talked about how he's going to save Social Security and Medicare. Cut 7, Michael.
He needs to save Medicaid, protect it. We need to raise the cap on Social Security. There's a possibility that it's going to be hurt, and we've got to protect Medicare. These are the safety net programs that people in my congressional district depend on. And this president seems to care less about them and more about the number of people that he can remove from the various programs that have been so helpful to so many people.
Al Green holding forth in the hall after getting escorted out of the president's address. Now, they didn't fact check him there, and they should. It'd be wise for CNN or MSNBC or any on the left to fact check their own. But they won't. President Trump has said repeatedly, Vice President Vance has said it, Elon Musk in his Doge capacities has said it. We're not looking to cut anything from Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security other than fraud. The idea is to cut the fraud because the fraud is a waste of money. It's illegal. It shouldn't be going out. Those are your dollars. And I don't know why anybody is mad about that. Why is anybody upset about that? It's crazy. But here we are. These are the Democrats. They have lost their ever-loving minds. There were a couple of moments last night that, they were very emotional moments. I think the biggest emotional moment happened when the president introduced a young boy, 13 years old, who's been fighting cancer since he was 6. So he's been fighting cancer more than half of the time that he's been alive. This young kid. And DJ is his name, DJ Daniel. If you saw it, you know what I'm talking about. The president highlighted this young boy, highlighted the fact that he's struggled so greatly against cancer. He was given 6 months to live when he was diagnosed as having cancer as a little boy. 6 months. He's been through myriad operations and procedures. And we all know about the battle against cancer. I know about the battle against childhood cancer. I have a niece who was diagnosed at the, I think, 2 or 3, with lymphoma, with leukemia. And she fought it and won. And she's an 18-year-old now. And God bless her for her struggle. The fight was tough. And this little guy, you watch him, he's in a cop uniform because all he wants to do is grow up and be a police officer. And the president introduced him to the world last night. And the kid's wearing his little cop uniform. And you know what cops do when they hear about this story. They tend to go and deputize the little kid. And it was a remarkable moment. It was an absolutely beautiful moment. The father holds his son up for everyone to see and applaud. And, of course, everyone on the Republican side stood and cheered for this little guy, this warrior. It was gut-wrenching. I had a little tear in my eye. And yet, the left could only see their own anger and hatred. Rachel Maddow on MSNBC, who really is looking like she's broken. That's an opinion. I'm expressing my own opinion on that. Rachel Maddow talked about little DJ, and I really think this is not doing the Democrats any favor. Rachel Maddow on the cancer kid.
For the record, and this is disgusting, the president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who's thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge. The Doge cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer.
The president and Doge are looking for wasteful spending in research, not for beneficial. Let's remember, Donald Trump's the guy who gave us the Right to Try Act. But Maddow isn't the only member of the MSNBC team who said absolutely disgusting things in relationship to little DJ Daniel, the kid who is struggling against cancer, brain cancer, and done it for 7 years. There's more. I got to take a break, and when we return, I'll play for you what Nicole Wallace said. It's sickening. It's sad. It's terrible. And I hope the Democrats don't correct it, because this ain't going to win them back the House or the Senate or anything. It's not going to win them back the hearts and the minds of the American people. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my ailing friend. Join us. 888-630-9625. Chris Plant Show.
Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris.
It is the Chris Plant Show. Chris is under the weather today. Mike Opelka, that's me, sitting in for my buddy Chris Plant. Get well soon, Chris. I'm sure he will. He is a very, very healthy guy. He'll probably be back here mañana. We are trying to get to everything from last night's record-setting address to a joint session of Congress by President Trump. And I was talking about the Democrat reaction, especially to a young child, a little boy fighting cancer, and how the Democrats reacted. Rachel Maddow over at MSNBC was just disgusting, in my opinion. But Nicole Wallace also joined in the fray, and I think she actually out-disgustinged Rachel Maddow. And that's not a word, I know it. But here's what Nicole Wallace said.
This was a lesson in finding one thing that you let yourself feel. And I let myself feel joy about DJ, and I hope he's alive for another, 95 years, right? And I hope he lives and the life he wants to live. He wants to be a cop. He knows what he wants to do. And maybe when you have childhood cancer, that crystallizes for you. And I hope he has a long life as a law enforcement officer. But I hope he never has to defend the United States Capitol against Donald Trump's supporters. And if he does, I hope he isn't one of the 6 who loses his life to suicide. And I hope he isn't one who has to testify against the people who carried out acts of seditious conspiracy and then live to see Donald Trump pardon those people.
So the people who are upset that Donald Trump put a child fighting cancer on display and talked about how brave and how special this child was, they then put that same kid on display to sell their evil, angry, disgusting narrative about President Trump. Again, Chris likes to say it, so do I. Point a finger at me, and there's 3 point right back at you. But choosing to put this little warrior in the middle of it is especially disgusting. Join the conversation. Favorite moments? Unfavorite moments? Least favorite moments? 888-630-9625. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show. Yes, it is not Chris Plant. It's Mike Opelka sitting in for my friend. He's under the weather today after last night's sickening display by Democrats. Wasn't it sickening? It was for me. I'm just disgusted by so much of it. Not only during the event, before the event, and now after the event. And I'm interested to get your take on it. And your favorite moments, maybe even your least favorite moments. The phone lines always open at the Chris Plant Show. Thank you for being there. 888-630-9625, 888-630-9625. Let's check in with Jason in Kensington. Hello, Jason.
How you going? I haven't heard you for a while.
Well, Chris, he's been healthy. And I think this is the first time in 20 years he's actually called out sick. So it's great to see your nephew doing well on the tennis circuit too. He's doing really good. Oh, thank you. Yeah, Riley Opelka's back playing later today out in California. So we'll hope for good things.
Yeah, favorite moment last night I think was when he sort of mentioned about the border, how we need new legislation that all we needed was a new president. It just sort of highlighted how inept and how much bureaucracy runs in Washington, and it just goes to show you that if you really want to do something and the government wants to do something, they can fairly quickly. And that'll sort of really stick with people down the road, because they're going to say, well, you know what? Look how fast things have been moving and how fast things can get done. It just goes to show you how much lockstep the Democrats were in last night. I mean, if I'm a Democrat representative and that moment came up with DJ last night, I mean, I would probably have to step outside my party's line and actually stand up and applaud the kid, because it just goes to show you that, you know, they just are in lockstep with each other, and they would have been looking at each other to make sure no one stood up and applauded. That's just how they think. They're so petty.
And that's the word I was using was petulant, which I think is tied to petty, and I think you're exactly correct, Jason. When we look back on the cameras, I wonder if they have isolated cameras making sure that certain Democrats look at people as if they're about to stand up, and they go, "Don't you dare stand up for that." But, Jason, I think you're wrong on your analysis of the closing of the border. I don't think it shows us how hard it is to do. I think it shows us how much we were being lied to by the Democrats. Yeah. You know, they told us no. Well, for the folks that missed it, this is the 18 seconds of what Jason's referring to from the president last night.
The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation. We must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president.
That was an epic moment for me. He was so right. Spot on. That was absolutely gold from the president last night. I thought it was good.
Yeah, no, it was this classic Trump, and I kind of was, I was kind of glad he didn't really get into the pettiness and the personal stuff. He just kind of laid it out and was very uplifting and just said, this is what we can do and this is what we can become, and was very positive. And he sort of made the Democrats sort of paint themselves into a corner, and it worked. Yeah.
Well, to that end, there are polling data being released today. And we're getting just an absolute avalanche of polling data that is showing the president played this correctly. 76% of the people viewed this speech as something they approved of, according to CBS YouGov, 69% on CNN. So we got great positivity on this. And when they asked about the amount of time that the president spent talking about issues you care about, 63% said he spent a lot of time on it. And this is a gigantic win from the public perception. And the overall reception of this, 68% of them said the speech made them feel hopeful. 54% said proud. So this is a huge score in the public opinion polls, which the Democrats used to quote all the time. So I'm pretty sure they're going to avoid this one, Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty safe bet. Anything you disagreed with? Anything you wanted more of from last night?
No, I think he pretty well covered it all. I mean, because he kind of went into it expecting what he was going to say, and then he's pretty much laid it out. And I think he sort of. It's so funny how he has sort of taken the patriotism and made it prominent, which has forced the Democrats to become basically anti-patriotic. They've basically become anti-patriotic because Trump is patriotic. So they're just doing exactly the opposite of what he's doing. So all of a sudden they're looking like the anti-patriots, which is kind of strange to me because, regardless of what side of the fence you're on, I mean, it's your country, it's your, you should be patriotic no matter what.
There were a few. Yeah. There were a few on the Democrat side who had comments on. I'm going to play some of that, Jason. But thank you for being there. Appreciate you, brother. Let us talk to Rob in Montgomery County, Maryland. Hello, Rob. Welcome to the Chris Plant Show with Opelka sitting in.
Hey, how are you this morning? It's good to hear your voice again. Glad you could take the place for Chris. Ditto everything that Jason just said. I tell you, after all the years I've watched these presidential addresses, I don't think that he missed anything. These people on the Democrat side, I think they should take all of them, give them a one-way ticket to Moscow, and let them hang out there for a while. I mean, these people truly don't like or love our country. They don't. I think they've forgotten what patriotism is. You were just hitting on that, and it really is. It's pathetic. Like you said, they're petulant. They're like a bunch of high school kids. They never grew up. They never grew up.
They can't get past their hatred for Trump to see that he's doing anything good, and he's doing a whole lot of good, as is shown, as is displayed by just the overnight polling data, that this was a hopeful speech. This was a speech that made people proud. This was a speech that showed a clear plan for inflation. 68% of the people said, yeah, we get it. We understand. He made the point. He truly is a communications wizard. And the Democrats are going to be, they're going to be scratching their heads and saying, "Arrah," for the next couple of days on this one, Rob. And I appreciate you being there.
I think.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sick also, and for Chris to be sick, like you said, that's real rare.
First time in 20 years. For him not to get to a microphone, I know he's not well. He is one of the toughest guys I know. And we both share the same love for our vocation. So I hope he gets well. I know he will heal quickly. I feel bad for whatever has gotten to him because he's going to beat the tar out of it. But thank you, Rob. Feel better yourself. Let's go to Karen in Michigan. Karen, welcome to the Chris Plant Show with Mike Opelka.
Thank you. Hi, Michael. I'm, of course, a mother of 4, and I watched the DJ, announcement last night where they gave him like an honorary position, and I'm also a nurse. So for people to not grasp what it's like for a parent to watch your child suffer, for years he suffered with treatment and surgery, to have this like amazing moment where he's honored by the President of the United States. And I mean, I don't know how any woman would not just be brought to tears if you're a mother. And for when I saw the Democrats, I think one lady stood up. I saw one lady. All the other women just sat there with their little puckered faces and their nasty little looks on their faces. That was so embarrassing to me. Well, I wish we would have had a zoom in on all these little bitter women that are sitting there. I think J.D. Vance might be right. They're childless cat ladies. But anyway, I was surprised. I couldn't believe it.
But, Karen, there are moms there. We know there are members of the Democrat Party who are parents. That it strikes me as being really orchestrated and planned, saying no matter what, don't you dare stand for anything they do. And from that moment, it was terrifying. And it wasn't just women. As a guy, I've said this, I was totally verklempt, as they would say. I was touched so greatly, not just by this little kid, by DJ Daniel and how brave he was, and by his father holding him and holding him up so all those people could honor this little bitty fighter. And I don't know if you saw it, Karen. A little bit later, I think it was about 10 minutes later, the president made a surprise announcement to a young man who has, I think, 3 or 4 generations of military in his family. There was a young kid who was in the audience with his mom. I think his great-grandfather, his grandfather, and his father all served in the military, and it's his goal to become a soldier. It's his goal to be in West Point. And the president read his basically education resume, and he said he's got a 4.45 GPA, pretty good, and announced that this young kid was going to receive his commission to be in West Point. And the kid was so surprised he jumped up and hugged his mom. But what happened after that, Karen? tells you
little boy.
Yes.
That JD came up and high-fived him.
Yes.
It was so sweet and natural. And, I mean, can you imagine in your lifetime you watch the presidential State of the Union and you're brought to tears 3 or 4 different times? It's never happened.
Yeah. That moment where little DJ came over and he was happy for somebody else was gold.
I know. It was.
Absolute gold.
There were so many times last night like that. I thought it was a wonderful evening.
Yeah, I haven't even begun to talk about Laken Riley and Jocelyn Dungary and the other moments. And there's so much to get to. Thank God we have a 3-hour show today. But, Karen, thank you for bringing the mom's perspective to. You're a nurse and you're still raising 4 kids as well?
Well, my baby's 28, so
okay.
They're all grown up. But, yeah. But anyway, thank you for doing a great job.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Let's grab one more call here, looking at favorite moments. Last night, David is in Chantilly, Virginia. Hello, David.
Well, hello, dear sir. Thank you very much for taking my call. I was brought to tears in a different way. I was brought to tears of laughter, and every time the camera panned over to Nancy Pelosi. And just to see her face so crestfallen, let's remember that she ripped up that State of the Union address in front of Trump during his first term. And so just to see her, and her face, and just to see her body language, every time the camera panned to her, I was literally laughing out loud on my couch.
Well, it certainly is wonderful to watch everything come full circle. I'm not going to lie about it. I have what is known as schadenfreude moments, where we take pleasure at the misfortune of others. And Pelosi looked to be very uncomfortable, and I don't think it's from the hip replacement she got after she got knocked out in the first round of the European Stair Diving Championships a couple months ago. I think
she's earned it. She's earned every criticism. She has earned it all. She is an evil, cackling, witch, and I know that. As a Catholic, I good news is it's Ash Wednesday, so I can go to, Father, out in Centerville and deal with that there, with Jesus and everything like that. But this was one of those moments where I was like, you know what? This woman has completely deserved this type of criticism and ridicule, and I loved it.
I find very little to disagree with you on, David, and I thank you for that. And remember, it is Ash Wednesday. Remember, man, that you are dust, and into dust you shall return. Now go and sin no more, David. Thank you. Appreciate you. Grab one more quick one. Nick in Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Hello, Nick.
Hey, good morning, and keep up the good work there, brother. Appreciate all you're doing. Appreciate the forum as well. Thank you for taking the call. I just wanted to give the Trump administration an idea on how to fortify they're reducing the tax on tips. They're reducing taking tax off of Social Security. And one more thing they should really do, if we can get it into that big, beautiful bill, would be to Social Security recipients are constrained in their earnings ability, because if they make over $22,000 a year, then they will take the Social Security back, in essence. And so it's the Democrats, they want to continue the narrative. He's attacking Social Security when, in fact, he's taking taxation out of that Social Security, which is an enhancement to their checks. And if they can be given the ability, if those constraints, earnings constraints, are removed, and if those recipients want to get out and work and contribute to the workplace as well, they can do so without having their benefits reduced or eliminated.
Nick,
so I think that
I hate to cut you off. I'm dealing with time, but I also believe that is changing, and I think it's changing as we speak. I think the limitations on what you can earn and still receive your Social Security are going away, and going away pretty quickly, if not last year, the next year. I'll look into it during the break. It's Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show. It is the Chris Plant Show. Mike Opelka in for my ailing buddy Chris Plant. Trying to get to everything. It's just a mountain of stuff to cover from last night's record-setting address from President Trump. I think one of my favorite moments last night, and not getting a lot of coverage, was when the president brought up Greenland.
And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it.
So he starts out by saying, I support your decision, because Greenland is talking about independence and maybe breaking some old ties. And then he says, but one way or another, we're going to get it. So either you could do it now or we'll do it later. We'll find out. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. 888-630-9625. Looking for your favorite moments, anything you observed that I may have missed. Mike is in Sunshine, Maryland. Mike, welcome to the Chris Plant Show.
Michael, thank you for taking my call. You know, last night I observed the Democrats' behavior, and it confirms something that I've believed for some time, and that is the Democrat Party is going to split into two parties. There's going to be a few rational Democrats left who want to stop the digging of the hole they're in. That's going to be one party. And the other party is going to be those that don't want to stop the digging, who are ideologically captured. You know, I think it's AOC. I don't agree with just about anything she says. But she one time said that she and Joe Biden in any other country would be in a different party. And I believe that the Democrat Party is going to schism.
Good observation. And, you know, 3 years ago, there were people predicting the GOP would be splitting, and there would be a Trump wing of the party, and there would be an old school wing of the party. And what we've witnessed in those 3 years is the party following a leader. And what this points out, Mike, the Democrats don't have a leader. And so they are fighting amongst themselves. Very good observation. It is Opelka in for Plant on the Chris Plant Show.